Hello, hello. All right, so a little bit about the architecture as this becomes a little more sophisticated and complex. Right now, we have a single server, right? That it's hosting also our client, right? So we have the on the server side, right? We have a Java server, right? So it's a Java server and Java. And from Java, from the browser side, so on the browser side, we go in, we ask for this for a particular index page. The index page gets downloaded, and the index page then goes back to the server and asks for JavaScript, right? So down here you have the index page, then you have JavaScript running here, right? So the JavaScript runs here on the browser. Make sense? We only have a Java server. And then the JavaScript controller and the service then generate all sorts of HTTP requests, right? Through RESTful APIs, right? And that RESTful APIs respond with data, right? With JSON data. Everybody okay? Right, so we just have this one Java server that is hosting a couple things, right? It's hosting web services, right? They all start with API. Yes, and it's also hosting HTML, right? It's hosting JavaScript. It's hosting CSS. So it's hosting static content, right? It's also hosting dynamic data. Everybody okay? All right. Okay. So now we're going to change this a little bit, and we're going to have two different applications. Right? One is going to be the same Java server. Right? It's going to be still hosting our API, but for the client, we're going to be hosting a Node.js application that is going to be hosting our React client application. Right? So this is going to be a Node server. Okay. Although we're not going to do anything with Node whatsoever. We're only going to use Node to host the HTML that we need. Okay. So this is going to be hosting a React client, and we're going to be navigating from the browser. We're going to be navigating to our React client. It's going to download, again, same index page, JavaScript, and it's going to start running here on the browser, right? And any client-side user interface or component or JavaScript is going to be downloaded from over here. So this one is going to be hosting all the HTML, right? All the JavaScript, all the CSS, right? That are implementing the courses, right? The course is implementing the modules, the lessons, and the topics, right? All the components, all the modules, the lessons, the topics, all the HTML, the JavaScript, and CSS for this is going to be coming from this Node.js server, right? We're going to write these. These are going to be written using React.js. Okay? Yes?
We're not actually using Node, we just downloaded all the package files. Like, we're not.
Yeah, you don't need to. I'm sorry, say again?
We're just downloading the package files.
Yeah, just a package file. Yes. Yeah. So to create this Node.js a project, we're going to be using a script. There's a that is provided by the React team, right? It allows you to create a React app, right? And you can give it a name to the React application, and it creates for you a project, right? That is already ready to go. It's already built, right? You just need to say start it. Right? And it runs right here locally on your machine, right? And you can use it standalone, right? You can use it standalone. Obviously, it's not going to have any data whatsoever. It can only do client-side stuff, right? It doesn't have any data. Once it gets copied and downloaded to your browser, from here you can then go and hit a server that has actual data, right? Because our Java still is connected to a database. Right? And right now, the only table that it has is a user table. That's all it has. right? And it's hosting services for user, right? Being able to create users, update users, delete users, and whatnot. Yes, right? We're going to expand on this and add services that allow us to create a course, right? To create a lesson, to create a module, to create a topic. So we'll expand our Java, right, with models, repositories, services, right, to support courses, modules, lessons, and topics, right? And this will add tables for courses, tables for lessons, tables for modules, tables for topics, right? And they're related to one another. One course has many modules, one module has many lessons, one lesson has many topics. Right, so you have foreign keys going everywhere. All right? Right, so we're going to expand this using JPA, the same REST controllers, the same repositories we've come to love in implementing the user. We're going to do it again, right, on the Java side. But what's going to be rendered on the client is going to be React components. Right? They're going to be downloaded from a Node.js server. So when we deploy this on Heroku, this will deploy to the same Heroku server that you already have, right? So that's going to be the same, but this will deploy in a different Heroku server, right? In a Node.js server, right? So you're going to have two Heroku remote servers running. One is hosting only the client side, and the other one is hosting the server side, and a little bit of the client. Now, just a little bit here for the stuff that we implemented with jQuery, right, for logging in and whatnot. Yes, so it has a little bit of client stuff there, but here it's a much bigger client that we're building today, this week or so. So it's going to download. So this is going to be running in one domain, and this is going to be running in a different domain. Okay. So when this React comes down, it gets downloaded to your browser, and when it tries to maybe list all the courses, it's going to go to the server side, to the Java server, say, hey, give me the list of courses because I want to render them. Right? It's going to make a request here. Well, the server, the browser is going to stop that request. It's saying, no, you can't do that. Right? That's a security violation. Right? The JavaScript was downloaded from this domain, right? And it's trying to access another domain. That's considered to be a cross-origin domain access, okay? And the browser will stop you, right? What the browser will do is it'll go first ask the server and says, hey server, there's a JavaScript that was downloaded from this domain and that is trying to contact you. Is it okay? And by default, the server is going to say, no, I have no idea who that is. It's not from me. Right, so I'm going to stop you. You can't do that. Right, so by default, it'll stop you. Right, we're going to have to configure the server to say, hey, it's okay. Right, it's one of ours. Right, so we're going to say we can either configure and say, hey, accept requests that come specifically from this domain, or more typically, what many folks do with an API, if our API becomes so popular that everybody wants to use it, we'll probably open it up for everybody and say anybody can access this. Right? We'll say we'll configure what is cross-origin resource sharing. Right? We'll configure course to say that we'll accept requests from anybody. Right? You can either list in a specific domain or list of domains that you can allow, or you can say it's open to everybody. For instance, most of the commercial APIs out there, Yelp, Yumly, or most of Google APIs are configured to accept requests from anybody, right? So that you can integrate with them, right? And you can create your own API, your own user interface, right? They provide the data, you create your user interface, whatever you want it to be, right? So they'll accept requests from anybody, yes. But you can throttle how much you want to allow this to be available or not. Make sense? All right. So we're going to have two repositories. So this one was, I don't know, it was something like webdev, something server.java or something, right? Because so that's a server. role is as a server. This one is we're gonna put a client in the name. We're gonna say webdev client, right? And we'll say that this is a React client, right? This is because we want to distinguish it for later when we create an Angular client for the student. Yes, right. So that later on, when we're halfway through the course, we'll create another one of these, right? But this will be called something 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 client Angular. Okay, and same thing here. Later on, when we create a Node.js server, right? This will be called something 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 server dash node. Okay, that's when we get to the mean stack later on this semester. For now, for this week, we're just going to have the existing Java server plus this brand new React client. Right? They're going to be running in different Herokus. This will have the same Git repository as before. This will have its own Git repository, right? With the same naming convention that we've used for the server. This will be a client, React. Make sense? So now you're going to be dealing with two repos, all right? Two Herokus, two repos. When we get to React Native, right? Since React Native is fundamentally different than React.js, we'll have to add another repo, right, for that as well. So it's going to get more complex. And it's very common in industry to have, large applications spread over many different repositories. That's very common, right? You just have to make sure that the dependencies are there, they know about each other, and how to build it, right, and have it all work at the end. All right, it's not uncommon that we handle multiple resources. Okay, so that was a little bit about the architecture of how we're going to be building this.